Hello, everyone. It's Brian here in Toronto. It seems that I have started most of my recent videos with saying something like it's been several days since my last video. In fact, I think it's been 8 or 9 or possibly 10 days. As you can tell, or as I think you can tell, we are still moving around, although we've been in this place for about 6 weeks. The good news is that we should be able to move back into our house within 2 to 2.5 weeks, certainly by the end of June. So that is all good news. But then we have all this stuff ahead of us. Like, for example, I took all the furniture off the main floor. Every plate, bowl, spoon, cup was taken out of the kitchen, and we have to put all of that back. So that's one area of work that's ahead of us. Secondly, there's dust pretty much everywhere in the house. I cleaned up a little bit, but every room in the house, even if doors were closed, has dust in it from demolition and drywall. And then in the basement, I have gone back a few times to grab records for videos, and I've never put them back on the shelf properly. So that has to be done. Also new things. So recently I was there. I grabbed 5 records for this video today, and yeah, I was able to tell that the house is pretty close to being done. They just have to do some final things in the kitchen, and it's looking good. It's looking good. So today, I guess I'll start something called, I don't know, thread archaeology, in which I'm going back and looking at threads that I made notes for but never did because I was unable to get the records in a timely fashion. But I have them today, and this one is Bands and Colors, started by Chris Profane. I think his video came out a month ago. I have watched a few of these videos that have come out, and thought they were very interesting. So I went back and looked at the notes I had made and crossed off things that other people have chosen. But I made one mistake, and that is that I chose a band that someone else had used. And I didn't realize until I got back here and sat down. So it's a different record, but Dave at M Fidelity showed this band. So there's a repeat, but that's okay. I'll go with this anyway. So it seems to me that the most commonly used color in a band name is the color black, which I guess technically isn't even a color, but we'll leave that aside for the moment. Black shows up a lot. And I managed to find a band with the word black in it that I don't believe anyone has ever used in this thread. And that is a band from San Diego called the Black Heart Procession. This came out in 1998. This is the original 1998 pressing. It was only repressed once, I believe, in 2023 on limited edition vinyl, but this is the debut record. They're an indie rock band. If you know bands like Tindersticks, Arab Strap, Blonde Redhead, they're always put into that category. This is called One, just the digit 1. Their second record was called Two, the digit 2. Third record was 3, but they spelled it out in words. And then they used numbers again on the 6th record, which they spelled out 6, S-I-X. Don't know why. There's the back of this record. All music. I made a note of this because they said they called this a lovely melancholia that avoids self-pity for deliberate reflection and consideration. I don't know what that means, but it's the Black Heart Procession. And here's the record. Pretty basic white sleeve. There's no printed inner sleeve, but they did include what appears to be the booklet from the compact disc in here, called the Black Heart Procession, and it has various liner notes and photographs and lyrics and credits and whatnot. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, pretty good record. Now the interesting thing for me is that maybe 10 years ago I got a copy of this in a thrift store for $1 or $2, and it's worth considerably more than that now. Interesting. Second is a record from a New York City electronic duo called Silver Apples. Now, they are a very interesting band duo, whatever you want to call them. They put out their first records in the late 60s. They did some work in the late 90s. And then in 2016, this record called Clinging to a Dream came out. They did another one in 2023, and I think they're done. The drummer changed over the years. The original drummer was no longer on this particular record, but Simeon Coxe, I guess C-O-X-E the third, is the guy that created a homemade synthesizer for the band, and I think it's called the Simeon, if you can believe it. And it's really interesting. Parts of this record sound like sound effects you'd find on a hokey 1960s sci-fi movie, but it's not simply that. It's more complicated than that. It's more complex than that. But some of the sounds are really interesting. Sometimes compared to Noi, Faust, and Can, that kind of approach. I love this record. I think it's really cool. The inside is a little underwhelming. Just two records. Clinging to a Dream, the title of the record, it only appears, as far as I can tell, on this sleeve, on this label here. It doesn't appear on the album jacket anywhere. If you're curious, though, and you want to hear what they sound like, from this particular record, I'm going to suggest two tracks. One is Nothing Matters. Another is Concerto for Monkey and Oscillator, which I find really interesting. I love this record. I got a deal on it somewhere sometime. Now, the third one is a record that many fans of this artist don't like. In fact, I think AllMusic called it the nadir of his commercial suicide, but I actually quite like this record. It's Neil Young, Neil and the Shocking Pinks with Everybody's Rockin'. I mean, look at the effort he went to here. He got the pink room, he got the appropriate looking suit, the haircut, the guitar. So everything's working here. I even have the compact disc of this because I like it. It's only 25 minutes, 10 tracks, rockabilly. It just works for me. Now, I've read scathing reviews of it. Some people love it. I actually quite like it. It starts out with Betty Lou's Got a New Pair of Shoes. I thought, oh, great. Wonderin', Kind of Fond of Wanda. Gotta like that title. The title track is good. I mean, the record label on Geffen even went to the trouble of doing a printed inner sleeve, right? There's Neil there. I have to say, I don't know the artists listed here as part of the band. I don't really know them. Maybe they've been in other records that I forgot about, but here we are in Geffen Records. Show this one upside down just for old time's sake. Yeah, 1983. I don't know, I think it's great. That is Neil and the Shocking Pinks. And then this record, as I mentioned, David M. Fidelity showed a record from this band, and I'd forgotten he showed it until I sat down and thought, wait a minute, I think someone else has used this, but I fortunately had chosen a different record. Orange Juice. In a nutshell, Dave showed Rip It Up. A Scottish jangle pop band, really interesting, led by Edwyn Collins, who of course went on to a fairly successful solo career. If you know the first record from them, You Can Hide Your Love Forever, you'll note that there's dolphins on it. So this, I think, references the first album cover. This is a compilation, came out in 1985, which compiles some of their better tracks from the first few releases. And I think it's quite good. It was only ever released in the UK, New Zealand, and the Philippines. And I think one of them was on cassette, the rest are albums. So there's no compact disc version of this you can find anywhere. The tracks are on the bottom. So Rip It Up is on here. Flesh of My Flesh. Oh, well, it's really good. I mean, it's a really good entry point for Orange Juice. This is a UK pressing. The warning not to copy it is here. And so Edwyn Collins had a bit of a health issue for a while. He had some neurological condition that led to something called aphasia, which left him with the ability only to utter 4 phrases. They were yes, no, his wife's name, and the possibilities are endless, he said repeatedly. And there is a documentary out there, if you want to look it up, called The Possibilities Are Endless, which looks at his recovery from this condition, which is kind of interesting. So kind of a crazy story, but that's a really good compilation. And finally, a band I've mentioned before, but not this record. I had to choose a Canadian band called Blue Peter, which I'm guessing is named after the British kids show, but I'm not sure. This is Radio Silence, which came out in 1980, way back when. This is their first full-length record following their EP, A Test Pattern for a Living. If you know any song from Blue Peter, it's likely going to be off the subsequent record. There was a track called Don't Walk Past, which made big inroads on MTV and made much music up here. There were 2 big hits up here on this record, Video Verite and Radio Silence. Christopher Wardman and Paul Humphrey. Christopher Wardman went on to do a lot of work with other Canadian artists, and Paul Humphrey, after this band, I don't know really what he did, but he ended up working as a bartender in a local bar. I think he served me a drink once. And then he died an untimely early death from a long illness, I think. This is on Ready Records, a bit dusty here. And this is a good record. I think their second record is probably better, but this is really good. If you like, it fits into the new wave genre. Lots of keyboards, really good bass work in some of these tracks. So I love the album design too. It's pretty cool. So that's Blue Peter. Out of, I think Paul Humphrey was actually born in Vancouver, but the band formed in Markham, which is north of Toronto. So really good band. So that's it for today. I guess I'm taking a road trip tomorrow. So there'll be a video that follows, which you might find interesting. So you can have a look out for that. I don't know when I'll post it. We will see how it goes. But thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.